I don't know how they did it, but they did it. The Sharks find new ways to blow yet another game.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, caretaker at the Reef, also the co-host of Locked On NHL Tuesdays. I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Proudly part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day, and even when they blow 5-1 leads, excuse me. So if you want to be an everydayer, all you have to do is just follow wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. And today, I actually do a crossover with Ann from Locked On Preds, where we discuss how stupid this game was as the Sharks lose 7-5 to the Nashville Predators. So we break down the game. We both give our kind of one word to describe this game. Then we kind of take a bigger peek at both these teams, as they're both kind of in similar draft positions, but definitely in different kind of cycles of their team. So really fun chat with Ann as we, especially with these teams playing again on Thursday. So yeah, have fun, guys.
I'm joined now by JD Young. He is the host of Locked On Sharks, one of our favorite partners in crime across the NHL league. JD, let's just be honest here. We really thought the roles were going to be reversed halfway through this game.
Yeah. This felt like it was like one of the few times where I would be like, wow, the Sharks played a full 60 minutes. This was a great game. You saw their young players doing stuff. Macklin, who's been really quiet lately, had a really nice game. Alexander Georgiev played well. No, this was not that game.
Well, in my mind, I'm like, well, of course, Mikael Granlund scores 2 goals. And, oh, hey, look, there's Luke Cunnin sticking it to the man as well. Thinking, oh, my gosh, Nashville yet again can't get past the 3-win mark. And here we go. And it was like the world was shaken up and we just landed here for this crossover episode. Of course, if you missed the game, if you turned this game off in the second period, have we got a story for you? The Nashville
I turned
Predators.
it off to watch Matthew Schaefer highlights because that's the only thing that brings me joy right now.
The Predators came back. And when this was, by the way, I hope that you feel honored, JD. This was the biggest comeback in franchise history. They came back to win this game 7-5? Question mark. I mean, I saw it with my own eyes, but I just want to invite you to participate in an exercise with us, JD, because Emma and I at Locked On Predators, anytime we do a game recap, we always summarize the game using one word to describe the game. And here's the trick. It doesn't really have to be one word because it's like our show, our rules. So yep. I want to open that up to you. If you could describe this game from your perspective in one or more words, what would you say and why?
Unsurprising, because
really?
the Sharks have found so many ways to blow games, blow leads, and they just found a new way to do it tonight. And the fact that this game, that Nashville won 7-5, that's not actually the surprise. There was still 15 minutes left in this game when the Nashville took the lead. The Sharks had plenty of time to come back and stuff, but this team, though, they are such a young team, and this is a team, again, last year was one of the worst teams in modern NHL history, especially when it comes to score differential, goal differential. They had a -150 last year. You have basically the entire franchise is on the shoulders of an 18-year-old child, who we're going to talk about more in a little bit, but this team, right? They don't have a captain. Logan Couture has basically been banished to IR land for the rest of his career. They don't have this team can be very directionless, and especially when they get leads, they just don't have the maturity of a team to close out. And even a 4-goal lead is not safe for the Sharks to try to save. And so yes, as crazy as it was, as soon as like Nashville made it 5-3, I was like, this game's over. Like, there's no way the Sharks are winning this game.
Wow. It's so funny because the things that you're saying are things that I think I would have said, minus the word young. My one word to describe this game is delete, because I started writing down my notes for this crossover in the second period. And I was like, okay, here's what happened. Here's why Nashville can't get it done. Here's why Nashville can't win 4 in a row. Here is why Nashville is so tripped up consistently this season. Here is why Nashville cannot take a punch in the face and respond. And then I'm sitting there putting the finishing touches on some other notes, and I'm looking at the score and I'm like, delete, delete. And then I'm delete, delete, delete. And then I'm like, delete, 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 delete.
Start
And I had
new
to just
document,
start
yeah.
a new document.
Yes.
Because and you say unsurprising. I will say this is a very surprising win for the Nashville Predators this season, because this is not a team that has showed a lot of resilience. This is not a team that I would necessarily classify at this point in the season as being mentally tough enough to come back in any sort of situation like this. I think of their wins, maybe 4 of them they came from behind, and they just haven't had that. So it is actually very surprising to me. Yeah, I thought this was going to be a really different crossover episode. Not going to lie.
You know, yeah, I mean, I think my kind of biggest takeaway is kind of like I mentioned, right? Is this? I mean, if you told me the Sharks get chase UC Saros after the first period, right, and
Yep.
you know, like they have a 4-goal lead at some point, like awesome. But again, I've watched the Sharks team so many times. Even yesterday when they had a lead against the Bruins, blow that lead. Like it is a constant thread in every Locked On Sharks episode of, wow, this team is really good for 40 minutes. I call them a 40-minute team, right? This is a good 40-minute teams. They can play tough. They can play with anybody for 40 minutes, but they just don't have that extra gear, right? And you saw Nashville. They started to kind of get some confidence. They found that extra gear, and the Sharks just don't have that extra gear right now. Do I think they'll get it in the future? Of course I do. I think Macklin Celebrini is going to drag this team at some point, kicking and screaming to wins. But right now, this team, they just don't have another gear. And as soon as they got up 5-1, I tweeted out, I said, you have a 4-goal lead. I don't care. You can't get complacent. They went into neutral, and then look what happened. They stopped skating. They stopped forecheck. And this team, the Sharks were dominating on the forecheck in the first period, right? And
they were.
They just stopped. They stopped doing everything. They started puck watching. And that's just an immature team right now that is trying to find its way.
Yeah. And again, I come back to, you're talking about an immature team that struggles with that. Nashville is like chronologically very mature as a team, but they have struggled with the same thing. This is a team that you look at the roster and you think, okay, this is a team that's got experience. This is a team that has battled, and we've got Stanley Cup winners on the roster. And yet I will tell you that when the Predators were down 5-1, I was like, I would have bet my firstborn and probably my youngest and said, there is no way, because Nashville, for as chronologically mature as they are, they don't have that. Like you said, they don't have that killer kind of finish thing. They haven't developed that this season.
Yep.
And, like you said, we've seen one game, I would say, from the Predators this season that was a 60-minute game, and that was Saturday night against Minnesota. They take their foot off the gas. It's so strange. When you look at this game, who stands out to you for the Sharks? When you look at it and you say, okay, I'm gonna look at, like, what am I going to take away positive? Who stands out to you? And then is there a player where you're like, hey, friend, let's have a talk?
I think Macklin Celebrini, you saw, especially early, you saw what makes him going to be a special player, if he's not already a special player. Just his ability to scan, the way he plays in all 3 zones, his ability, like you saw, I felt like this was going to be a Celebrini. I've been kind of waiting for the, like, Celebrini's been playing really well, but I've been waiting for this, like, 3-4 point, like that game where you just kind of be like, okay, Celebrini's arrived. Like, he is that dude. And I thought we were going to get it tonight, especially if, he scores right off the jump there on a great breakaway. Just an absolute snipe, and the way that kid can shoot the puck. Again, he's 18. I thought he played really well, and even at the end, right when the Sharks started to show some signs of life in the last 5 minutes, it was him leading the charge, and it was him with the
Yes.
puck on his stick and him shooting. And you felt like if anybody's going to do it on this team, it's going to be that kid, and he's going to be the one to do it. I mean, there's plenty of goats to pick, the negative version of goats to pick in this game, but the defense was a mess. The team stopped skating, but Alexander Gorgiev, there's a reason why they call you Forviev, and like you got to make some saves there. Like when the team is flailing, like that's where you want your goalie to like be like, guys, I got this. And again, like not put in the best position, but you can't stop. Like I think he had 5 goals on 12 shots at some point in this game, and you got to make some saves there. You got to keep this team in it, and I think, he's my guy. How about for you? Who's the one guy that you point to tonight as like, who's your 2? I guess.
That's so interesting. For odd reasons, I'm gonna actually pick 2 people, and they're probably not the players that jump out to you, but I want to shout out Steven Stamkos. And when you think Steven Stamkos, you think one-timer on the power play. But Steven Stamkos had a couple plays tonight where he just was all out. Like he was diving to clear the puck. He was skating back to back check. Just doing those little things where you needed a player that says, okay, we've got to give it our all. I'm going to give it our all. The other one I'm going to shout out is Tommy Novak. Tommy Novak has had such a tough season, and he has played pretty well these last couple of games. And you saw Tommy Novak being more aggressive. And that is not a word one would associate with Tommy Novak. Tommy Novak, very gentle spirit. Like, I don't think he even says, gosh darn it. Like, he's just a very gentle spirit, but you really saw some more from him. Here's the one. And he was a goal scorer. And Justin Barron, he's a new fella. We got him in the trade with Montreal. We traded Alexander Carrier, who we have loved at Locked On Predators. And
I liked Carrier this offseason. I was very much on the Sharks should try to get Carrier this offseason. Yes. So, but anyway.
So fantastic. He really was great.
Very handsome too.
We actually refer to him as the Viscount because we're like, he is most likely to get a role on Bridgerton. just looks alone, straight looks. Yep. But Justin Barron has come in and look, it's a different defensive structure and he is still learning. And so there is grace upon grace for that. But man, did he have a couple plays where you were like, that was a turnover we did not need to see. He did redeem himself as he does at times, scored a goal, but still it was a little woof for us on that one. So coming up, I want to talk a little bit more about Macklin Celebrini. I feel like this could be a whole 30-minute podcast about Macklin Celebrini. I want to talk about that. I could talk
all day about Macklin Celebrini. That's the only thing that keeps me going right now.
I love that. I want to ask you some questions about him. And I also want to do a little vibe check when it comes to the Locked On Sharks. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Select Quote. In sports, having a winning strategy is everything. It's how the best teams make it to the Super Bowl, the World Series, and the Stanley Cup Finals. The same goes for life. Having a strategy like life insurance from Select Quote can protect your financial legacy and keep your family's future secure. Select Quote makes it easy to find the perfect life insurance policy. As one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, they've helped over 2 million customers find $700 billion in coverage since 1985. What sets Select Quote apart is their personal touch. Unlike other brokers that offers one-size-fits-all policies, their licensed agents tailor coverage to fit your unique needs. Get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL. Go to selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL today to get started. Again, that's selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL. Select Quote, they shop, you save. All right, JD, game aside, and here's the thing. We're gonna do a redo here tomorrow night as these teams face off. Who knows what's going to happen then? still don't quite understand what just happened. But
Nope.
in general, want to get some questions to you about the Sharks, because the Sharks are like my secret team that I like sneak watch, because I love the vibes. Now, I know that the vibes probably feel a little indigestion-y tonight, but
Yes.
overall, I want to know, for, you who cover the Sharks, what are the vibes like with this team? Because even though their record may not show it, there seems to be an energy going on with this group.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this team has struggled since the pre-COVID, when they lost to the Western Conference Finals to the St. Louis Blues, who had checked their way to a Stanley Cup that year. But since then, this team has been very kind of directionless. Doug Wilson, the former GM, trying to kind of keep everything together, but you could tell like this team was just aging. It just kind of fell apart. Enter Mike Grier, who
Mhm.
did the hard thing, and that is admit that this team is not good enough. You need to rebuild and make massive trades, right? You think about a GM who traded away Tomas Hertl, arguably one of
Yes.
the most popular players in Sharks history, Timo Meyer, Erik Karlsson, the list goes on and on. Brent Burns, like Mike Grier is very popular because of the stuff that he has done to get this team back on track. And you're starting to see some of that with a fruition with that, right? William Eklund in his second full season has really turned into a stellar top 6 player for the Sharks. Will Smith, who they drafted 4th overall in the 2023 draft, making his debut. And Will Smith is, having a really nice rookie season. You see a lot
Mhm.
of the highs. You saw some of the highs tonight. You see a lot of the lows. You see some of the lows tonight as well. But then this Macklin Celebrini
Oh
kid, who
my
the
gosh.
Sharks tanked very hard for last season. You can see where he's going to be kind of the tipping point for
Mhm.
this franchise, right? And the Sharks are going to get another top 5 pick, and probably first or second pick in this year's draft. But you see how Celebrini is just going to change this franchise and be that guy. And there's a reason why a lot of comps were like, "Oh, he's just Sidney Crosby, like Junior," or like like
Mhm.
you see that just the way he plays in all 3 zones, and he does it as an 18-year-old kid. But and then you look at their draft pool, which is their prospect pool, which is the best in the NHL right now. They got some dude that you may have heard of called Askarov this
We're gonna get to
offseason.
that. We're gonna get to that.
He's really sick right now, poor guy. He lost a lot of weight, but he
Oh.
yeah, the bug running through the locker room. He was one of the big guy who kind of dealt with that. But like you can see that this team, they have so many high-end picks. They have so many young players who are going to start to kind of enter the NHL here. And you see the direction of this team of being a team that's competitive, hard, fast. Like you see kind of all those cliche words, but you see like how this thing is coming together. So while games like tonight happen and you see less of this compared to especially last year where they were getting blown out like 7-1, they had 2 games in a row where they let the other team put up 10 goals like in back-to-back games. Like
Oof.
you're not seeing as much as that, and you're seeing a much more competitive team, but this team is still, they're kind of the master class tank where
Mhm.
they're being more competitive, but they just lose like every game by 1 goal. I think they lead the NHL with most games lost by 1 goal. And so they're going to get another top pick, and you're seeing progress from the young players, and there's just a more competitive team. And you can see how the future is going to be really bright for San Jose.
Yeah. And San Jose is what makes it very, very tempting for Nashville Predators fans to say, we got to tear it all down. Barry Trotz is not going to do that, but it does make it
It is
look like
a
an appealing option.
It is a long, hard road. Like again, the Sharks they had not been to the playoffs since 2019. All
Mhm.
right, pre-COVID. Um, the first kind of real pick that they should have had, like top 3 pick, went to Ottawa as part of the Tim Stützle, or as a part of the Erik Karlsson trade, right? For Tim
Yeah.
Stützle. This team, they were just kind of that creamy middle team that's death, I think, in sports. So just being that team that
Mhm.
you're directionless, and it really hasn't been till the past couple seasons where the Sharks actually have a direction. And yes, tonight sucked. Like tonight sucked for Sharks fans. But this is going to be one of those games where it's like, okay, when you're picking top 2 in this year's draft, it's like, okay, that game was a big game for the Sharks to lose. And
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah. All right. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room. let's talk about Yaroslav Askarov, who we adore personally. But I have to tell you, like the whole way things went down here in Nashville left kind of a taste in some people's mouth. And also now I'm worried that he lost weight because let's face it, Askey did not have a ton of extra meat on his bones. So
No.
how I worry.
Yes, that's the mom in you very much worried
The
right
mom
there.
in me.
Yes.
I'm like, somebody beef him back up. But just give it to us straight, JD. We can take it. How is it going with Yaroslav Askarov? Just say it out loud.
Brilliant.
Shut up.
He has been everything Sharks fans hoped
Yeah.
for and more. I watched him plenty in the Sharks. Sent him in the AHL to start this season as a part of their plan, right? Starting the AHL this season, we're gonna we want you to play big time minutes on a very good Barracuda team, and the Barracuda team's been pretty good this season. And we want you to be the guy down there. And he has been the guy down there, right? He started the season with 2 shutouts. Like he was absolutely dominant to start the season. Vitek Vanecek gets hurt. Really random play where he gets a puck. He's sitting on the bench, like as a backup. Puck hits him in the face, orbital bone. So he's been out for 6 weeks right now. So Askarov's had to play, and he has been stellar. Last couple games a little bit shaky. I'm gonna say, like, again, last game he missed probably about 4 or 5 games where he was the backup because of an illness where, like I said, he lost a bunch of weight there. But you see just the athleticism, his ability to kind of read plays, his ability to control rebounds. He's just so much fun, and you just tell every time he plays, he is so much fun. He's such a joy to watch. I've gotten a chance to see him live a couple times. I got to see a nice shutout game in the AHL, the Teddy Bear Toss game, which was great.
Come on.
Yes, shutout in that game, and then I got to see them play the Flames where I was like 10 rows behind them, and the Sharks' offense was non-existent in that game, and he was excellent in that game to even keep it as like a 3-1 type of performance. But once the Sharks improve their defense, and that's kind of the big thing that they need to really kind of work on, you see like if Askarov continues the way he's going, like. Yeah, he has been brilliant. I'm very excited for him. And I know every Sharks fan is just like, if he doesn't start like 2 games in a row, people are just like, where's Askarov? Why isn't Askarov playing? And it's like, guys, you can't run him into the ground now. Like, don't run him into the ground now. It's not worth him playing like 50 games behind this defense right now. So, but no, he's an absolute joy.
He is such a competitor too. He'd be like, put me in, coach, for 50 games.
Put me in. I
can 100% take it. 100% take it.
That's one that you have to protect them from themselves at some point because it's not like you want him playing meaningful games when the Sharks are like going to be competitive. I think goalies have an odometer, right? And like you don't want to rack up miles right now on a team that, again, that's just not competitive. Like he's NHL ready. Like I think the Sharks they're going to have an interesting decision what to do when Vanecek comes back. And sounds like Vanecek's going to start practicing this week. I think they do send Askarov down because one, I think, again, they're trying to secure themselves a really nice draft pick, and Askarov is too good of a goalie. And the best way to take games is having poor goaltending. So I think, and 2, to try to maybe boost up one of Vanecek or Georgiev's trade value to see if they can get anything from one of these guys at the trade deadline. And I do think they want, like I said, I think they want this Barracuda team to be really good. And when Askarov's there, this Barracuda team is a real threat to make a deep run in the Western Conference. So,
yeah. Oh, I miss him. I have to say this, like I said, kind of a bad taste in the mouth, the way things went down. But you have to feel like Askarov landed exactly in the right spot as far as timing wise, because he is going to peak when you all are ready to be competitive. And it is going to be a heck of a lot of fun.
I cannot wait. That's what's keeping me through these 7-5 losses where you give up 1,000 goals in a row. Yes. Forviev is just going to be up there with the other like random goaltenders the Sharks have run out through the past, like the couple of years. So, I can't wait for Askarov. I can't wait for full-time Askarov. It's going to be great. Next year is going to be so much fun when he's a full-time NHL player next year. It's going to be so much fun.
Oh, take good care of him for us.
We are.
Okay. All right. Coming up, we're going to try to answer some of the existential questions that the Nashville Predators have been wrestling with all season. Friends, it's going to be a challenge. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keeps every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, JD, I can try to tell you what's going on with the Nashville Predators, but I still don't even know how we won the game. So
his name is Alexander Gorgiev. That's how you won this game. No, no, I think Nashville's like one of the biggest, like, I guess,
can say
disappointments
Say
this
it.
year, because like this team, right? You know, and I guess that goes to with all sports, right? If you win the offseason, it typically means something bad's going to happen. But right, this team went out. It felt like they were kind of making some all-in moves this offseason with some other signings and stuff. I kind of expected this team to start slow, but then kind of, you know, figure things out. You hope by, you know, Halloween, Thanksgiving, this team is kind of starting to find its groove and could be a legitimate contender in the West. They're a legitimate contender to be one of the top picks in the draft this year.
Oh, we're coming for you. We're coming for you.
You have to learn how to lose more games. You can't. Yeah, you just lie down when the other team gets a win. But what happened? What happened, bro?
I mean, this is the existential question of our existence. Here's the best way Emma and I know how to explain it. And people, there's always the saying, if you hear hoofbeats, think horses. This is zebras. This is a herd of zebras with the hoofbeats here. You are right when you bring in, especially two players like Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault. They are going to be key pieces in your offense. It is going to take them time to get up to speed. These are two guys that were very well ingrained in the places they came from, in their systems. It was natural. It was on a cellular level. They knew what they were doing. And all of a sudden they're here. Andrew Burnett's system just tends to be a lot of work to learn. And we saw that last year in his first year as a head coach. And so we kind of knew we were going to give grace to Stamkos and Marchessault. What happened was players like Forsberg, Yossi, Ryan O'Reilly, Gus Nyquist, who had a career year last year, Luke Evangelista, who was coming off of this amazing freshman season, absolutely froze. And it was so hard to sort of analyze. And I don't know that the team yet is to a place where they could go, this is exactly what happened. But if I had to guess, I would say that there was a very subconscious, not conscious, but a very subconscious deference to Stamkos and Marchessault, where these players who had been in Nashville, who needed to carry the team until Stamkos and Marchessault got up to speed, were deferring to them and not carrying the team. And it took some time to sort of figure out who this team was with these new pieces. And also just everybody sucked. Like everybody was just sucking. Nashville has hit more posts than I have my husband's car in the driveway. And that is saying something. Like it has been mesmerizing. We have said on the podcast, how do you hit the post so many times when the actual opening of the net is a bigger target? Like everything has been a struggle. And I think it took a mental toll. Like at one point, Jonathan Marchessault, who is extremely frank, and just know that before you ask him a question, said, this locker room is fragile. And they just didn't have
words in sports.
Terrible, but really accurate. Like they were like individually, there was a crisis of confidence for these top players. Collectively, nobody knew how to get out of it. And what we're seeing right now, like the reason I didn't think that this comeback could happen against the Sharks is because Nashville just has not been mentally resilient. maybe this is a step in the right direction. It's clearly a step that happened really late.
Yep.
But it's been a struggle, friend. It's been a struggle.
Okay, so I mean, this team, right? They going into this season. I mean, you felt pretty good about at
Mhm.
least headed into the season. You pretty good about the roster. You have 3 first round picks going into this draft.
Yep.
Two of them are probably the Vegas picks going to be near the end, and but one of them's probably going to be top 5, worst top 10 if Nashville can maybe if they start winning some games here. What is this team's kind of future? Because like, are they going to try to do the retool on the fly? Do you use those picks to maybe acquire NHL players who can help you now? Do you try to restock your draft? Like, what is the kind of this team's future? Because you do have a lot of older guys signed for long contracts, and I
Yeah.
don't think you can wait around for 3-4 years for some of these first round picks to make an immediate impact, especially in the draft where there isn't a Macklin Celebrini, there isn't a Connor Bedard, a guy who's going to step in right now and help your team right away. So what does this team do?
I really think Barry Trotz, for as many questions as people have had about some of his moves, I think he's done a great job because in getting Stamkos, in getting Marchessault, in getting Brady Shea, he has leveraged nothing for the future. And here's what I will say: Barry Trotz is not going to. So you will not see Barry Trotz trade one of those 3 first round picks to get somebody to come in now. It's unless it's literally like Sidney Crosby's love child that just pops in out of nowhere, or some sort of thing.
My theory, if you want to get a guy who could Simon Image from the Devils, a defenseman who's ready to play a NHL games right now. 20, he's turns 21 here the next couple of weeks. If you trade either that Vegas pick or that Lightning pick, help add some juice to a little bit of an aging defensive group. Just saying.
He won't do it. I tell you right now, I think you would have to pry one of those picks out of Barry Trotz's cold dead hands, because the one thing that he won't do is leverage the future. He knows that there is this sort of fun little next 2 to 3 seasons window if you can tinker with what you've got. But really, he is focused on 4 or 5 seasons from now. So we're looking at like the Igor Surins, we're looking at Matthew Woods, we're looking at Andrew Gibson, Tanner Mollendykes, and he will not do anything. He won't cash in any of that for now. He will take what he has now and he will build culture with it for then, before he will give up anything that he's investing in that longer term future. And it's been really interesting to watch him try to walk that line of, now and not yet.
I think I get it.
Yeah.
I just think if you don't commit to one way or another,
Mm-hmm.
you're stuck as a creamy middle team who has no direction, especially because you just signed Stamkos to a 4-year deal. By the time the deal's over, he's going to be 38, and that is a no move clause. Like, that guy is not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere.
Jonathan Marchessault, who you signed to, what was that, a 5-year deal?
5-year.
5-year deal with no move clause. That guy's not going to, and so he'll be 39 when that contract expires. You have Philip Forsberg, he'll be 35 when his contract. Like, I have seen this before with guys named Patrick Marleau, Joe Pavelski, Joe Thornton, Logan Couture. Like, these guys, like, I worry that you're going to be that team that is, even if you get to the playoffs, you're just not going to be good enough because to get through. And maybe getting to the playoffs is fun and stuff like that, but you don't want to be the Minnesota Wild where you get to the playoffs every year and you get knocked out in the first round, and then you're like,
Nashville, we have done that. Like, we have mushy middle written all over our faces. But I think Barry Trotz feels like, all of my eggs are going to go in the future basket, and I'm going to hope these veterans can set a culture. So where I bring in a Tanner Mollendyke, he's going to get a year or 2 with a Roman Josi. And so I think that's what's going to happen. Now, it is such a precarious line to walk, that you may be right.
Yeah. Again, like, maybe he pulls it off. You think, like, if you, especially with investments, right? And, we didn't even mention UC Soros, who just signed to a bajillion-year contract. Like, it feels like you locked yourself in with this core, and then you're not kind of using all your assets available to try to help said core. And maybe this core doesn't deserve to be helped, especially the way that they played this year, right? But like you said, I mean, I think that some sort of grace, like the cap's gonna go up $1 bajillion over the next couple of seasons. That would, like it's supposed to go up to, we could be looking at over $100 million with the next 2 years with the cap. Like it feels like if you have these guys and you went out and you got these guys and you sold them on like we're gonna try to win a cup, and then you turn around and you're like, I have these 3 picks, and like don't trade your pick. Like if getting a guy, especially if you get a top 4 guy in this year's draft, you're gonna be super happy.
Yes.
But like those other 2, it feels like you could get something that could really help you now or within the next year or 2 for a team that has so many veteran guys. And you hate to see if you're a Golden State Warriors fan, the 2 timelines where we're going to have Steph Curry, we're going to build around Steph Curry, but we're also going to build around these young guys because we got some young drafts, and it didn't work. And now you have an aging Steph Curry and you got nothing to show for it. And it's just Steph Curry out there doing cool Steph Curry things. But that team is just not competitive night in, night out because they didn't develop their guys properly, and they didn't use those picks to help Steph Curry win now. And this is exactly what it's reminding me of. And I know hockey's way different. It's way easier in basketball to find a guy who can impact your team right now. But I just, as someone who lived that life of like, hey, we're going to try to have some like Tomas Hertl and Timo Meyer and Lone Couture and Erik Karlsson and Brent Burns, the pieces are still here. We can just kind of build around it. At some point, you just got to pull the Band-Aid and just start. And because if not, it feels like you're just going to be like, as those guys, your core guys start to age out, your younger guys should be coming in. But again, like you haven't really fully committed to it. So
Trotz is hoping for overlap that's going to make a difference. But again, you got to walk that out very carefully. And he really will not give up any future assets for an aging player at this point. Like it will be someone young for that next window, I think. But I don't know, Barry Trotz, we'll find out. Barry Trotz talks in a stream of consciousness. So, we'll find out his plans sooner or later.
He has a big off season he has a big summer to try to, I'm Nashville's off season is up there with one of the most intriguing off seasons, and kind of see how they handle this because if not, then all your off seasons signings this year is just going to feel like kind of like a waste. Yeah, that was fun. That was cool.
And actually, it hasn't been super fun.
It's not been super fun. That's the worst part.
No.
Yeah. You just look at Puckpedia and you're like, you keep waiting for those years to cross by. You just keep, believe me, I'm still watching that Mark Edward Vlasic contract. Just waiting 2 more years,
hey, look,
2 more years.
We're still playing Kyle Turris. Thank you very kindly, Kyle Turris.
Yes.
Love that. Looking ahead to the game, we're going to be right back at this. What is one key for you for San Jose in this next matchup?
Finish a game.
Finish them.
Like, please finish a game. I think that's the big thing. It's again, like this team has lost so many of these games where it's just you had the lead. Like if games were 20 or 40 minutes long, the Sharks would be one of the best teams in the NHL. Like they would be so good. But like it's like you see it, they play so great in one period and then they just kind of fall apart. And I think for the Sharks, it's how do you pull yourself off the mat? Because this is one of the worst losses of the season. Like especially being up 5-1, it felt like you celebrate. Like it felt like okay, end of a long road trip. It's been a tough road trip. You were in most of these games and you ended up losing. How do you pull yourself off the mat, and can you do it? And I think Askarov, I expect Askarov to start on Thursday. I think Askarov's gonna be jacked for this game.
He is.
It would have been nice to see Askarov in Nashville for this game, but I do think Askarov's gonna be jacked. And I think the team is gonna try to rally around him. But yes, can you finish? Like treat the game like it's 0-0, because that's their problem. Is as soon as they get up one, they just don't, like I said earlier, they just don't have that other gear. So I think that is a huge thing. Is can you finish a game?
Yeah. Nashville is one of the worst road teams in the league. And you're welcome. So let's see if they can get some sleep at the Hilton. Maybe they need to stay at a Holiday Inn Express and be able to come out and play, on a professional hockey level, because the road games have been such a hitch in the giddy up for this team. And I mean, I can tell you, like, this player needs to step up, or they need to win on the road. They have not been able to do that. So it will be very interesting to see if Nashville can take some momentum and some confidence from this comeback win and translate it on the road in a different time zone. For the love, I don't know, man. It's going to be, after this game, I don't know.
Dude, I'm very excited for Nashville to be up like 5-1 and the Sharks to come back and score back and win that game.
Yeah. And you know something? That could happen.
Celebrini like last minute goal to win it in regulation. And something like that would be fun. So, actually, it'll be Luke Cuttin.
Of course it will. Or Mikhail Granlund. Or Yaroslav Askarov goal.
Oh, that would be great. Askarov goalie goal assisted by Granlund and Cuttin. Just the Nashville killer.
Just stab. Oh my gosh. JD,
could you
always love talking
really quick
with you. Yes.
Could you imagine the Askarov celebration on a goalie goal?
Okay, hold that thought.
Because I think it would be like I don't think they could show it on TV, to be honest. Like if like that, I don't think they'd be able to show it on TV. Like it might be the Joe Thornton 4-goal trick. Like we might get that type of situation if Askarov scores a goalie goal.
He will literally skate up and down the Nashville bench and with his Russian accent be like, "How do you like me now?"
Yeah, or like Barry Trotz up in the just pointing at Barry Trotz.
Just pointing at Barry Trotz.
Box, yeah.
It would be fun to watch.
Oh my gosh.
We don't need to see it. Just the imagining it is fine. That's plenty enough.
Lord, I kind of want to see it now.
And honestly, again, I say anything can happen.
Anything can happen, yes.
Anything. JD, it is always such a delight to catch up with you. And again, a delight to sneak watch the San Jose Sharks. I know this game didn't go the way that you would want them to, but I like the vibes. It's going to be fun to see what they can do. Yeah. Will you let everyone know where they can find you and where can they find your show?
Of course, you can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at My Fry Hole. You can also find the show wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. I know Nashville fans, you're probably going to be into the draft for the first time in ages.
Yes.
We do a lot of great draft stuff over at Locked On Sharks to get you guys ready. So, and since these teams are going to be picking pretty close, you'll probably want to check out who could be available. So,
yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch that. We'll have to do like a little draft crossover as we get closer to that. You can, of course, find our podcast at LO_Predators on social media. You can find us on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube. You can find me on social media. Just be nice at ANK_Mama on ice as well. JD, delightful. We'll see what happens tomorrow night in this rematch. And here's to Yaroslav Askarov not scoring a goalie goal, my friend.
Maybe one.